play rating so that players can find their level of play appropriately so that they can have competitive matches and overall positive experience. We ask that all players, both athletes and unified partners, have a valid player rating each year. These are used to determine a player's appropriate level of play, subdivision within a level of play when needed to ensure competitive and fair matches, and to form doubles teams of similar ability. For those who play tennis each year, Special Olympics Maryland starts them at the level that was played the previous year. So players will not move to a lower level year after year. So if someone comes in playing level 2, the lowest that they will play the following year is level 2. We hope that through continued practice and training, they'll improve throughout the season so that hopefully they'll be able to move up layers and levels and continue to find challenge in the sport. So this provides an overview of how to conduct a player rating. We encourage that the player rating is done by an individual who's not the coach, who can look at it without prejudice. And it's also important to note that in Special Olympics, we do not use the USTA rating system. Our numbers are a bit different, as you will see on the scorecard following this slide. So ratings will begin as simulated singles matches. So it's important to find 2 players of similar ability. We start them on the orange ball, which is a good kind of middle of the road at that 50% compression to start out the simulated match. And once players start exhibiting that, they're covering the court well, they're able to control the ball, we would introduce the green ball and move them up from there. So to get a good idea of, is this right where they should be? Can they, move up a bit? It's flexible within that player rating. So we want to make sure that they can exhibit court coverage, ball control, and then we can move them up or down within that rating session as needed. So the first step for 2 minutes, the rater will throw in a ball and encourage rallies. So we want to see, can they control a ball and hit to the person on the other side of the net, and help gauge placement and control. Do that for about 2 minutes, make sure each player has the opportunity to hit both forehands and backhands. Okay. And then after that, we will throw in a ball and play out a point. So rather than just hitting it back to the person that's on the other side of the net, it will be a simulated point, so that they can, the rater can get an idea of court coverage, get an idea of hitting it to where the other player is not. There's opportunities to see volleys, forehands, and backhands, and more movement in there. So just doing that for about 2 minutes. And after that, we look at serve, so both from the do side and the add side, which we will explain. Each player will serve twice from each side. The player receiving will return. You get to see returns of serve, and again, get to see them rally, the players rally, and see how they do. So this is the rating form. You can see players are rated on movement, forehand, backhand, volley, return of serve, and serve. In everything but movement, players are rated 1 to 4, and their total score is added up at the end for their individual rating. One thing that is important to note, because the movement category does go to 5 points, movement is weighted heavier by a little bit than stroke. So getting an idea of what that court coverage is will be important. The other thing to remember when looking at movement is that if someone is playing doubles, they're only going to have to cover half of the court. So while someone may be having a challenge with singles and covering both sides of the court, front and back, left and right, in doubles, they only have to cover half the court. Many of our athletes do play doubles, so that's just something important to remember when considering ratings. So as scores are added up, you can see their level corresponds to their translated rating. So on this rating form, if a player is rated below 6, they will play in the individual skills competition. If a player is rated between 6 and 8.9, they will be playing level 2 short court. If they're rated between 9.0 and 11.9, they would be at level 3. For level 4, they would be playing 12.0 to 14.9, and 15 to 24 would be rated as a 5. So again, their ratings translate directly to the level of play. If you have athletes who will be playing doubles, and again, many of our athletes do find great success within doubles, it's important to form doubles teams that are fair and competitive. So doubles teams should be formed with players who are of similar ability and age. Although age is less important, it is crucial that coaches know the personalities of the players on their team. So we might have some people who are more mature, some who are maybe less mature, and we can balance that out with their doubles partner. Doubles teams should be formed with players who are not more than 2 rating points apart within each level of play. If a doubles team must be formed between players of different levels, the player with a lower rating must play up to the level of his or her doubles partner. So that's important to note, that no one should be playing down a level. Everybody should be playing up.